Let me get my hair out of the way. Game number 1 of this special Halloween Nova Cup is underway. It's Ofma and FTQ versus NoStyle, NoBallz. Let's get into game number 1.
So game number 1 of the full bracket of Division 1 will have FTQ with yellow and Ofma with green right from the start.
Alright. Oh,
okay,
man, that was a relief taking that thing off. Holy!
Yeah, your voice is now clearer and quite loud, so you might need to adjust that. But for now, NoStyle and NoBallz not going for the Fiesta playstyle we know them for, going for the Chaos approach in the first game instead. So maybe keeping that trump card in time of needs.
Yeah. And I can tell you why they're playing Chaos, by the way. Pawn Shop, one of the 3 Legion spells. This pairing is absolutely crazy power level. Like, if you have that Chaos build where you don't know what units you're gonna get, but you're gonna roll something overpowered eventually in the late game, and you have Pawn Shop, you can just sell all of those random things you were forced to build and turn them into, you know, the Doomsdays, the Hellgates, the Hades, when you need them in the late game. It's such a strong combo, and NoStyle, hopefully we can see him make good use of it in this game.
Yeah, and there's a clear avenue that you can counter it with, is if you save longer, then the Chaos player might be forced to replace their units quite often, and then they lose gold overall still. So you can play that card too if you're Ofma and FTQ. But on round 1, only one snail going through, and that's going against NoStyles.
Oh. Yeah, so lucky there for Ofma not receiving the snail, and also lucky for NoStyle with his fire elemental build. I think this is a pretty classic play against NoStyle NoBallz because they are known for their Fiesta play. So if you go for those snails, you know, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get a big leak on the Fiesta player and give yourself that advantage in the early game. But here, picking Chaos instead on NoStyle, the snail is just +6 gold for him, you know?
Yeah, it's +6 gold. Also, this fire elemental start can be quite safe at 6 workers too if he gets the right units rolled on wave 3. Yeah. So I think this is a very good start for NoStyle right now.
Look at this, by the way. That snail, the 6 extra gold, you might think, well, it's only 6 gold. How much of an impact can it be? Well, here you see, because that 6 gold was exactly the amount he needed to push his 5th worker as soon as wave 1 ended. So he's getting an extra, like, 30, 40 seconds worth of Mythium generation. That's pretty big.
Don't forget the +1 of the leak of Ofma. So every star's aligned for NoStyle this game to get that 5th worker.
Very true.
And Ofma receiving this second a snail here, so the first snail of the game for him, testing the violet. I think this is quite smart from NoBallz to test it, because if it is a Fiesta, he might have been 6 workers already with an aqua, and it leaks quite decently to a snail, so it's nice to check. But now to 6 worker Ofma, quite risky, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. It is pretty risky, but I quite like the play, and it looks like it's going unpunished. NoBallz not resending here on wave 3, so Ofma should be completely fine. FTQ, obviously, with his Avenger, very, very safe against anything that NoStyle could possibly send. I'm a little bit interested about this Dark Mage here from NoStyle, though.
I mean, he did roll nothing to go pair with that fire elemental, so he was forced to build something, but I did not expect a Dark Mage here out of everything. So maybe a Ranger would have been decent, but still, I mean, the Dark Mage does scale a bit better, but it's quite a funky build right now for it.
Yeah, like you don't normally want those Dark Mages for wave 3. It's more of a late game support unit. But it's fine, and like it's always going to be useful, no matter what he Chaos rolls into, so I think it's a fine play.
Yeah, and as you see, Ofma and FTQ going for this killing approach, knowing that the stars is going through, at least on one of them, so trying to scale, staying true to the identity of how FTQ wants to play the game. And that Chaos build from NoStyle really has me questioning a little bit. Not really sure where he's going with that.
Also, something that we haven't actually mentioned yet this game, NoBallz has what I think is the strongest opener in the game, just full stop. The Priestess Mask is just a very, very high power level in the early game. But he's weirdly playing it on the right side of his lane instead of the left, which does mean it's harder for him to kite away those big power mercenaries, especially in the late game when you're worried about things like siege ram. So why do you think NoBallz might have built on the right side like this? Do you think there's a reason, or is it just a mistake?
Yes, there's a very clear reason, and that's that he has the fertilizer to deal with that big mercenary. So normally the play is to send that big mercenary, and now you think, oh, she's not going to be able to kill it. But with the help of the fertilizer, then you isolate the big tank, and you're able to clear it quite easily. The Assyria tanked, possibly only 1 or 2 plus the big tank, and then she's healing up. So you basically nullify part of the send. That might be a 320 or 400 Mythium right off the bat. That doesn't really matter in your send. So I think it's quite good if you have something to nuke down that tank mercenary.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, that sounds amazing. We'll have to see if it works in practice when we get into that late game stage. But certainly, the way you describe it, Shadow, that sounds like a really good strat.
But the split here from Ofma does allow him to leak very small in the end. Still a leak, but that was a long save against him.
Yeah.
But as you said, the Priestess early game can pretty much still follow in workers despite saving that long.
Yeah, and FTQ with his lifesteal Avenger fully covering his teammate's leak there. 0 king damage is done. And we're looking at a pretty comfortable position now for both Ofma and FTQ. They do have a small worker lead, but what is more apparent is the income lead there, with FTQ 20 income ahead of everybody else in the game.
Yeah, that's the power of YOLO. However, there is a problem for FTQ right now, and that's the Wave 8. Wave 8 is a huge problem for him, and you can bet anything you want that NoStyle and NoBallz have seen it.
Yeah,
now
100%.
FTQ will require to reroll if he wants to have an answer.
Yeah. What I would say is that it looks unlikely at this stage that NoStyle will be able to afford something like a Ghost Knight, which would really ruin FTQ's day. But even, you know, like Dinos and Fiends, he's going to struggle with.
Yeah. I mean, maybe another play that FTQ can try is to shift on wave 7 to get the Sovereign. Quite risky, but with all the impact damage he is showing, he can play risky and not build here and still be fine. Let's see if he reads it correctly, though.
Everybody's chilling with their Mythium right now.
So let's see. FTQ is still sitting on his 240 gold.
Oh,
no, he's not.
I would love him to just shift his gold here because his units can hold wave 7 no send easily.
Yeah, and if he would have read the play to go 8 here against both Ofma and FTQ, both looking weak on wave 8 despite having the cat, because the cat is strong every wave except 7 and 8, as everybody knows. And so now he'll be sitting with a lot of impact damage. Can still do decent if the Canopy tanks decently in the split.
Yeah.
However, the Fiends are problematic for him.
And as expected, it is only the Fiends coming out from NoStyle, so not as dangerous as it could have been, but we'll have to see because FTQ currently is 100% impact damage and in fact doesn't have any pierce in his role whatsoever. The second Avenger coming out. This is a very impactful build now.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the importance of keeping the income as long as possible as YOLO. I think this is a bit overkill and would have been way better for him to try and reroll right now to get an answer better than a second Avenger. But maybe he's proving me wrong and it's gonna hold quite easily here, but I don't see it.
I mean, value is pretty good in the game Legion TD2, and he has 965 of that. So let's see if he's able to cope with this. Again, it is a pure impact build against a pure Swift wave with pure Swift tanks, and we'll have to see if that is
I want
enough.
to emphasize on the fact that Ofma boosted an Orchid to deal with that pack leader, and he's going to hold that sand here. That was quite big.
A boost well spent there for Ofma. FTQ actually doing pretty well. He will leak, but it's not bad. 51%, but again, only an income send there from NoStyle.
Yeah, I mean, if he spent 1 income to get a Pierce unit, he would have held quite easily. Looking at how well he held that with those units, a little bit of Pierce would have gone a long way here for him.
Yeah. He has rerolled, actually, and he did find the Sky Queen, but maybe that was too late for him to build it there on 8?
No, he rerolled during wave 8, so I think the reroll was just mistimed here for FTQ. He wanted the second Avenger and then rerolls. And he's still keeping the Avenger. I think it's just the wrong timing of rolling for him.
Yeah.
I think that was the only thing.
Yeah, fair enough. He also found the Cursed Casket, so 2 Pierce units now for FTQ.
Yeah, that's going to help him on wave 12. Flower Casket's going to be pretty strong for him. And that's probably the next target for NoStyle and NoBallz, looking at the build.
Oh, Shadow. Oh, no.
You know what this means, right?
I mean,
you know what this means.
This is just the sort of gameplay that makes me so sad in my ladder games. When I'm playing against a Chaos player who's...
This is going to be a wave 15 sand.
Oh,
yes!
Man. Oh, man. Overbuild and starve.
I mean, the sands here from Ofma and FTQ are full. We're gonna have NoStyle holding quite easily with the Daphne and Zeus combo and a lot of
NoBallz has a Fatalizer, so I'm pretty certain that he'll hold as well. I guess there's a chance if the Mimic gets onto that Fatalizer really quickly, but I think he should just be able to hold with this.
The Mimic has a chance to go on that side, because there is some Snells and the boss goes here. No, everything goes on to the priestess. Okay. The Mimic is getting sniped here.
Killing the Mimic. The Fatalizer is on the Mimic, so that is down. It does mean it didn't ramp on the boss, but I think it just doesn't matter. The Fatalizer is so strong against this Wave 10 boss, absolutely shredding him. So an easy hold there for NoBallz. NoStyle actually looking a bit closer, though. I think he has just enough damage to kill the boss.
Yeah,
he does.
just
Very
enough.
Close, though. And they actually go for 11 send.
Wait. 11 is definitely not the play here, but looks like NoBallz is going solo here.
Okay. So maybe that's why NoStyle is just saying...
Wait, that's going to be Lizard Army and not Pawn Shop, despite having Chaos.
Okay. Well, I said I liked his Chaos pick with the Pawn Shop. I like it much less with Lizard Army. But
and
I guess
they are
have
going
a plan.
full on 11. They are going full on 11 here.
It's full and it's post-income full, so this really has to get some work done now against FTQ and Ofma, because if they don't leak huge here, yeah, this play is going to backfire badly for NoStyle NoBallz.
Yeah, I mean, that is still quite massive sense. The Ogre is indeed on the Haven, which means the Haven will die, but I mean, the wave is already taking so much damage from it.
I mean, the Ogre dies before the Haven does. I think that looks like a hold on Ofma. FTQ, now he did build a full death cap here, and the Ghost Knight is extremely good against a death cap on wave 11, so 83% leak there for FTQ. Ofma, though...
He's gonna leak a little bit.
He's gonna leak like 1 creep?
Yeah. But now you have Lizard Army, so what's your next option? Do you resend on FTQ? You see the death cap, so might not be their best option.
Yeah.
You see the Haven as well, so I don't think 12 is the option. So either they go 13, but they would need to push quite heavily, but they got saved on. Or they just say, fuck Lizard Army and just go for wave 15 or 16.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling this Lizard Army post-income send. They got some work done. They did shave a lot of HP off that king. But like you say, now they just have to feed the Lizard Gold to Ofma and FTQ. And they can't really make good use of it because on 13, Ofma has Orchids. FTQ has Lifesteal Avengers. I don't know, man. It feels like they got a bit of work done. But because that didn't win the game outright on 11, it now just feels like they're pretty far behind against Ofma and FTQ.
I mean, there is an avenue that could work, but it could only work if Ofma and FTQ would have overpushed.
Yeah.
And that is the pressure of the Lizard army to say, okay, they're now sending 13, so we need to send 13 as well to match them. But Ofma and FTQ, what they did here was quite smart. They saved up part of their gold, which means they can they can build up big units that are good on 13 and skip it, and aim for the 14 send that could be quite powerful against what NoBallz has.
Yeah. And FTQ actually fully shifted here on wave 12. A resend would have leaked him at least, but probably wouldn't have been worth it. Now, Ofma and FTQ continue their save here into wave 13, so I wonder if they just want to force the issue on 14, where they're both looking pretty strong.
Yes, and that is exactly what NoStyle and NoBallz don't want to happen. They skip 13 as well because they they go for King Ups instead. So
Okay, the good old Lizard Army King Up strat.
I think it's just I mean, I understand their plan if they would have saved here, because they say, okay, we force Self-Man FTQ to send 13, we defend it quite well, and then we can go for 15, where it's something that FTQ is quite weak on, as well as Ofma. But now you got the King Ups. Now do you go for that 14 match as well, or do you skip it? And now it's becoming a little bit more of a guessing game and not something you want to force.
I actually think NoBallz, NoStyle are pretty decent on 14, and NoStyle did skillfully roll the Badger with his Chaos, so that's pretty solid there. He also has the Sovereign option as well.
Gonna be honest with you, I don't think the Badger is quite the right play here on 14, because what do you expect here on this wave? Either Impact Mercenaries or Pierce Mercenaries,
Yeah.
which means that the value of the wave damage is way less than those of the Mercenary, and so you want to build more towards the Mercenary send at this point, since it was a long save.
Yeah. Now, NoBallz is just putting his gold into these Iron Maidens, which I think is pretty solid. He's undervalued by 200, which is not terrible. He maybe lacks a bit of damage, but I think what these guys are hoping is they know the send is coming. They probably know they're going to leak, but they just want to accept it. They don't think they're going to die. They have got full king upgrades, and now they save their Mythium. So
full king is crucial.
Unless they take overwhelming king damage here, the pressure has kind of gone back the other side, and NoStyle NoBallz now have the Mythium advantage.
This is a very decent hold here for NoStyle here, leaking.
The
mole almost dying.
Kill. Yeah. Exclamation point
everything is
in the chat if you want your safety moles to survive on 1 HP as well.
Like, everything is so low here. It's very minimal damage they take, and so now the pressure's on FTQ and Alpha, and they go for that 15. Not quite sure I like this, even though it was the play I envisioned after the 13 send. But it looks like they're still going for it, and I think it's still a quite decent choice here with the Flower and the Sol Rings on FTQ.
Yeah. This Ocean Templar is just very awkwardly positioned, I think, for FTQ. I mean, fine, it's buffing some high-value targets.
It buffs the units you want to for this wave. Ocean Templar reclaims value at wave 20 only afterwards, so you probably just want it on units you know you're gonna use right now that are quite impactful. So literally sometimes, but yeah, I think this is still correct as position, and the boost from Ofma is correct as well. But the DTs to counter it.
Now the Ghost Knight not really doing his job there after being sent into the split. Bulk of the wave is attacking the Octopus is there. It is now tanking his ranged damage, actually, and killing the Sky Queens. So maybe the Ghost Knight doing his job after all.
I mean, it's doing part of the job, and it's not the ideal.
Big. FTQ's doing very well, though. Now his Sovereign pops up, getting a ton of damage in with the slaps. It will go down, I think, or no?
Yeah, I mean,
just barely.
Barely.
But FTQ holds his lane. This is pretty big. Nice hold there, FTQ.
The kiting of the Ghost Knight really helped the Sovereign situation. It's his big unit, and he protected it with the lifesteal and also the Ocean Templar. So aiming everything he wanted for this wave. So quite a nice adaptation here for him.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, now the pressure is back on the other foot. This is such a back and forth game. First,
Uh,
Ofma and FTQ make it maybe a too early send, then vice versa from NoStyle, NoBallz.
uh,
And we're pretty head and head. Jules is giving it a
no,
50-50.
you're missing something, Penny. We have a suicide on NoBallz and a suicide on Ofma, so Ofma and
Whoa.
FTQ are in the correct sending order here to make it happen.
Okay, okay.
So NoBallz is going to push full on the workers against Ofma, who is pushing full, so correctly reading the situation that he needs to push for away 17 cent against NoStyle,
Yeah.
which who has the boar, at least one of them, and now has the antlers to give time for his ranged DPS.
I think they should see it now because Ofma's going to leak here to NoSend. So they
Yeah,
should
but
probably read it, but I don't know if they will. And it's kind of
no,
too late.
NoBallz is
NoBallz has
keeping
already
the
pushed
push.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
But NoStyle is still on 16 workers. He's going to be very high valued here.
I mean, very high value, but he's still decently under. FTQ has more workers and has decent value as well. Has 100 more income as well, so he's gonna be equal value to NoStyle, despite having more workers.
Alright, so Ofma continues to suicide. NoBallz also continuing to suicide. I would have liked to see him stop the suicide and, you know, just actually build a little bit, because it can make the difference if you know that your opponent is suiciding as well.
I mean, right now, it's a question of, okay, I need to make sure that the league of Ofma is big enough for FTQ not to hold in the middle, or to
Yeah.
at least do more damage faster to the king. So I think they want to win through Ofma's lane, and not necessarily through FTQ's lane right now. So they made a decision, and now they just want to all in onto it, and hope that NoStyle doesn't do too bad here on this wave.
Yeah. But the thing is, so NoStyle has the most value in the game by about 200, but he's also receiving double the send compared to FTQ. So I think it's a big ask for NoStyle to be able to hold on longer than FTQ. In fact, let's zoom out and watch these two lanes side by side. Let's see who leaks first, because this is key now. If NoStyle can hold out longer than FTQ, chances are they win, but he does not. He leaks very early, in fact. FTQ still has 3 units left alive. This looks like a winning race for Ofma and FTQ.
Yeah, this is way too much time here. FTQ holding way too long here compared to NoStyle, and this means that Ofma and FTQ takes game 1 here.
Very nice. Okay, I mean, it really came down to the wire, this one. Like, it was so back and forth. In fact, if you look at the win probability graph, you can see it just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then whoop, all the way up when Ofma and FTQ win there on wave number 17. So really interesting back and forth between these two teams, and I'm very excited to see what happens in game number 2. Should we have a quick flip through some of the waves, Shadow? Do you want to point out some of the turning points, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, just first thing, it's important to note that the game knows that when you win the game, you have a 100% chance to win the game. So that's something quite good to know.
That's just absolutely insane. I can't believe that. Sounds like fake news to me, dude.
I mean, the early game was pretty standard. I mean, the long saves didn't really work out, but there wasn't too much. But wave 11 really is what all the mid game really shook things up a little bit. Shook things up. Like wave 11, they got some damage. Then the Lizard Army was a little bit of a feeding stuff. And I mean, 12 and 13, nothing came out of the Lizard Army. But then 14, they both leaked, but still did pretty decently.
Yeah,
but
they
then
took
already
king
forced.
damage, right?
Yeah, and then already forced the 15 instead of saving a bit longer. And I think this is where NoStyle and NoBallz slacked off a little bit, because you can decide to not go 15 and they go for some king ups, and then afterwards you go for that suicide play, and then Ofma and FTQ, if they want to do it, they need to read it correctly on who it is. So I think it's a way better decision to skip 15 here for NoStyle and NoBallz and go for 17 straight instead, in this situation they were in.
I 100% agree. I think if they'd gone straight 17, this would quite probably have been a win for NoStyle, NoBallz. Ofma would have had options there. You know, he still has the Haven, so he can be very strong on 17. He obviously would not have suicided if that was the line taken. But I just think, you know, the send would have been 1.5k on wave 17 against Ofma, and I think even with 3 or 4 banana Havens, he's really going to struggle against a send of that size.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was close. It was a very close game, as the graph shown, but it could have been a little bit in towards the favor of NoStyle and NoBallz with different decisions of their lines of sending. Because 11 was a good start. They did go for king on 13. They decided to skip on 14 to have the liberty to dictate the pace afterwards, but then threw it away right away on 15. So I think it was on NoStyle and NoBallz here to decide what is the correct way to send, and they just misjudged it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it was a very close game. Could have gone either way. Ended up going in favour of FTQ and Ofma. But pretty nice stuff. Right. The lobby is open. Let me hop into that one. And I am to change my interface just a little bit because I think the caster interface is a little bit small for some of you folks at home. If I pop that up to 125, hopefully that makes things a bit easier for you to see on screen. And we should be ready to get into the next game any minute now.
And we also have the admission in the chat that Lizard Army was not a good decision from NoBallz and NoStyle here from them. So they realized that once they picked it.
Yeah, Pawn Shop would have been so great on the Chaos player. Like it's so insane to be able to just.
That could have been game changer on wave 17 too.
Yeah, it definitely could have. But with no further ado, we don't need to keep guessing. We are into game number 2. NoStyle, NoBallz against Ofma and FTQ. Let's get it on.
Yeah, and so FTQ not able to take the yellow, Ofma not able to take the green. They both go for cash out here, so safe options. And let's see if NoStyle and NoBallz against the wall here decide to go for the Fiesta. Yes, they do, and that's going to be NoBallz on it.
All right. So remember from last game, it was NoStyle who received the snail. So maybe Ofma and FTQ have it in mind that NoStyle is the Fiesta player, and I wonder if they try snailing him again, whereas NoBallz may be able to get away with a clean Fiesta with something like the veteran Peewee, for example.
Okay, just imagine the 5-hit plays here. Ofma and FTQ send the snail on NoStyle the first game, not expecting a Fiesta, to then make them think that they think it's NoStyle going on the Fiestas normally, and then sending the snail to NoBallz on the second game.
Oh, this is just too smart for me, Shadow. Holy moly, that's why we have you on the panel, dude. It's these kind of next-level psychological plays that make you a great analyst.
But no, they go for king ups, so no snails to be out.
Oh, unlucky. NoStyle, NoBallz, but most importantly, no snails.
So no snails and NoBallz is not building against a snail send, so expecting a king up, and so that's very good for him.
Also, really important to point out, NoBallz wasn't happy with the Peewee veteran Fiesta, which to be fair I think is a pretty weak opener. Pressed the reroll button and was massively rewarded by finding that consort, which is one of the best Fiesta openers in the game. So good presence of mind there to use his reroll wave 1. Pays off for him here with this consort, especially against no snail.
But I'm going to point out some stuff to you, and now you just try to think of the first thing that comes to mind when you see NoBallz roll here. Mm-hmm. So, you ready?
Okay.
Wave 7.
Deep Coiler, maybe?
Wave 8.
Deep Coiler.
Wave 9.
Soulgate.
Okay, so...
Is this just like free association, or...?
I mean, it's just 7 and 8 that is just a little bit risky for him, and the fact that he's forced to build for Dose Wave, he might not have the gold for the Soulgate.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
So that's the point. Yeah, you correctly identified stuff, but then you have the gold to make everything happen, because if Ofma and FTQ are saving, and they go for a skipping 7 and 8, do you have enough gold for the soul gate afterwards?
Yeah. Now, two things to point out here. Oh, FTQ leaking 114%. I thought he would hold with this ranger. He must have misplaced that ranger
No.
too far ahead. Takes too much damage.
No, that's the sad truth about the Ranger Oniflower. I did the mistake earlier in the year in one of the Nova Cups, and the Ranger is not enough to hold the 40 cent.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I was about to say kind of a lost trade for NoStyle and NoBallz, because obviously NoBallz leaked 75% there to the snail resend on 2, whereas I thought Ofma and FTQ were both holding their Dragon Turtle resends, but boy was I wrong. FTQ, they're leaking over 100%.
But yeah, I mean, it's no matter the positioning of the Ranger, there's no way to only make it tank the DT, but even if it only tanks the DT, it's not killing the DT fast enough for the flower to kill the wave, so it's just a little bit underwhelming that a 55 gold unit doesn't really do that work.
Yeah, reasonable. NoBallz did full resend into Ofma on wave 3, 60 Mythium. Ofma turned his Grawl into a Cage of Pain, actually, so very easily holding that 60 resend there for some juicy extra gold, while NoBallz leaking once again pretty heavily to the double snail resend. Now, you obviously identified that he has nothing for magic waves, and you were worried about wave 7 and 8, but wave 3 turned out to be the problem.
I mean, yeah, wave 3 is another wave, but would have been fine with another consort stuff. But yeah, I mean, any type of magic damage wave would have been dangerous for him. But now at 8 workers, trying to make use of his 4, 5, and 6 strength here. So we'll see how well it does.
Absolutely. All right. Nobody sending Mythium on wave number 4. We do have some almost starting to look scary numbers on the board here. NoStyle might be able to reach 100 for those magical imps on 5. Looking decent, actually, against FTQ. But a Hermit could do work as well.
NoBallz holding here. We have brutes all around here, but NoStyle not sending quite. And I believe this will be imps after income.
No, oh, surely not. I think if you skip the Hermit against double flower, then you probably are just going wave 6, right? Or maybe even longer. I don't think you would avoid Hermit in favor of imps just to go post income. I think that's not the best play.
I mean, it's not the best play, but your ally is sending full here. And looks like he is indeed not going for wave 5 here. So let's see if he's able to hold this 100 cent here with the gun.
Yeah.
So the gun did not tank here the boss on wave 5, which means that all the tanks took too much punishment, and then it will leak. I mean, it will leak at 6 workers here to be fair. So he was hoping for a hold here. NoBallz doing pretty well with his 8 workers.
Now on 10, by the way. And
now on 10 because he has that decoder.
Yeah.
He has that decoder.
Here comes the send from NoStyle. It is a wave 6 send. Only income, though. The Drake has been buffed lately and very good against everything on FTQ's board.
The Drake is the best power merc there is here because it receives bonus income compared to other power mercs.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a fair point. Now, FTQ going for a second Daphne. I mean, it's Swift Armor, we can say that. But probably not the ideal build here. He did, unfortunately, have something like 184. Oh, he's even shifting 50 gold. He's going to be in so much trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to guess, right? At this point, he skipped 5. Does he go 6? Does he go 7? He's not looking great on 7 either. Yeah. So he just made the assumption that it's going to be 7 since Ofma received, and need some cover probably on a 7 or 8 with a casket. Casket on 8, probably the best option to send on, but still doing pretty well FTQ.
65% leak there, but surely Ofma holds against the double Dragon Turtle send. Surely.
No. No. I mean, with caskets, very hard.
He's doing pretty fine though. Like, he kills 5 of the creeps, obviously both of the Dragon Tails, leaks 1 on half HP. I think he's fine with that, especially to have 0 pressure on him now. And Ofma and FTQ, the pressure is definitely on their favour at this point. 150 Mythium on the side of Ofma, over 100 now on FTQ as well. Let's see if they decide to send 7, or will they save a little bit longer?
I mean, looks like there's gonna be a send here from NoStyle and NoBallz, but Ofma and FTQ are saving. I mean, the Casket. You're sending against Casket here on wave 7. I mean, I don't expect Ofma to leak.
No.
If he does, I'll be very, very surprised and say Cage of Pain is very, very bad as a unit, especially with lifesteal. But I don't see him leaking. FTQ might leak to the resend though, not having the best units.
I do think that's a very, very low value butcher there for Ofma. It's only buffing 1 Cage of Pain, right? Like, you really want your auras to have a bit more value than that, but I guess he doesn't really have the units to put onto a butcher.
I mean, yeah, it's a low value, but it's the correct unit to buff on this wave, and
oh, did you
the
see
butcher
that?
doesn't.
The Cage of Pain, when its spell lands, it just heals for 149.
Yeah, I mean that's the wave 7 with a lot of units.
So it's an easy hold there for Ofma. FTQ, actually, against the 80 resend, he's leaking 4 little blobs. I think he's pretty happy with that.
I mean, yeah, and the addition of the Wanderer just giving that extra time to the Flower to just do their work, because wave 7 doesn't have a lot of HP because it does its ability, and so once you're down to the little blobs, then the Daphnes are much more tanky than they appear.
Absolutely, and we wondered when it would come. The answer is wave number 8. So we have an Ogre and a Brute against NoStyle. We have a Pack Leader and Snails against NoBallz. I will say that the lack of a Mole or Hermit means that this Deep Coiler is just going to go absolutely ham on the wave, two-shotting everything. And in fact, NoBallz building against wave 9.
Yeah, but there's a split. The split will turn onto the Coiler quite fast here. That's the danger of building a split with Coiler.
Oh, and even the Pack Leader on it, that Deep Coiler is just getting completely run down. This is going to be a really big leak for NoBallz. He does kill
and
the
not
Pack
only
Leader,
for NoBallz. Not only for NoBallz.
Not only for NoBallz. It looks like NoStyle is going for a little bit of a leak as well. He does kill 1 more Cobra, but that's all she wrote. 59% for NoStyle, 83% for NoBallz. And we're going to get a decent chunk of King damage in here on wave number 8. 17 creeps reaching the King.
I mean, the big damage here is NoStyle just not able to follow on workers, trying to cover for NoBallz, but not able to do so, and so now he's struggling in workers, 9 workers right now, and 12 on NoBallz. Even with Fiesta not able to put out the pressure with the workers.
Yeah, and it's not just the worker difference, it's also the income difference, and it's also a massive King HP difference there with 50% more HP clearly on the side of Ofma and FTQ. Jules only giving them a 58% advantage. I think it's a little bit more in their favor.
The big reason of that percentage is that, first of all, NoStyle is currently overbuilt. The second, NoBallz is saving Mythium for years.
Yeah,
he did not send on wave 8.
When do we expect it to come then?
The pressure is...
It's going to be a 10 or 11 send. Like, FTQ looks super vulnerable to something like a Ram on 11, but NoStyle has no chance of getting to 320 Mythium.
They want to have 11. They want to have 11, for sure. There's no aggressive spells though. But that's why NoStyle is currently overbuilding, is because they want to reach that 11 point.
Yeah.
And the gate here, FTQ is not leaking 11 whatsoever. I'm pretty sure of it now.
Oh.
I mean, it does work well against the flowers, but once you see the second gate come in on wave 11, it's very, very hard to leak it to anything.
Well, I'm certainly not with the amount of Mythium that NoStyle has, right? Like, you need a much bigger send than, say, 200 Mythium to be able to get through what FTQ has, especially when he almost certainly picks Hero to put it on that flower gate circle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they skip 11, where do you want to go? Yeah,
they go 11, but realizing how strong FTQ is there, realizing he doesn't have enough Mythium to make a dent, NoStyle just goes for an income send. I think that's fine, but it's...
he needs to hold. If he doesn't hold, it's over.
Yeah. They're in a bit of a rough spot, NoStyle and NoBallz. They're both undervalued. They do have Hero, which is something. We have Starcaller, Gate, Hero. Pretty strong, actually. Pretty strong combo.
Yeah, I mean, I like the composition of NoBallz. NoStyle is gonna go for the Guardian Angel on the bunk, so they do have a decent chance to hold here on wave 11.
Yeah.
Values is not bad, the units are good. I mean, if they
NoBallz
survive
the
this...
Centaur here on 11. Sorry to interrupt, Shadow. I just saw that one out of the corner of my eye. Centaur Hermit against Ofma. I don't know how I feel about that one. Obviously, he's going to be a bit sad when he sees the Lord of Death.
Yeah, I mean, didn't know about the LOD. Would have been nice to send against no magic damage, but he has magic damage. I think the Centaur is a bit undervalued onto builds that don't have magic damage, because it's a very decent tank still. But with magic damage, it's just melting.
It died pretty quickly. It also didn't do very much damage because it spent its whole time doing splash damage against full fortified Leviathan Tempest Circle. NoBallz, we said he was looking strong with the gates, but he actually leaks 100%. Luckily, NoStyle holds, and he still has quite a few units mid, actually, so I think that's enough for them to survive, but they're really
the gun
far
needs
behind
to not
now.
tank. The gun needs to not tank.
Yeah, I think the gun should be fine. There's much shorter range units there.
Yeah,
it's actually doing very little damage
partially.
because it's so far away from the wave. But the Chieftain keeps it alive. Gonna get a bit more damage in. They're just so far behind though, Shadow. If you look at the worker situation, 18 on both Ofma and FTQ. More, well, only a little bit more income to be fair, not very much, but they're both 3 workers clear, and they have a 50% King HP advantage.
Yeah, now what needs to happen is probably 13. 13 over Ofma and FTQ. Would have loved to see FTQ push a bit more, but as you can see, the build from NoBallz is lacking one important detail. Can you spot what that is?
On the side of FTQ?
On NoBallz, sorry.
On NoBallz. There's one important detail. It would be the complete lack of arcane units?
No, it's just lacking frontline. So the gates don't have any time.
Yeah.
So 13 is still a good option against Gate just because of that reason. Also, you see FTQ and Ofma push to 22 workers. NoStyle and NoBallz at 15, trying to get past that wave 13, shifting gold here to maybe bait it a little bit. However, the Mythium generated from Ofma and FTQ will be too big, I believe. I don't see the build from NoStyle holding 13, and FTQ sending correctly here with the Imps.
Yeah, this is looking pretty dangerous now, and NoBallz, in fact, looking like he's almost leaking to no send, so...
Yeah, but that's what they want, because they shifted full here on wave 12.
Yeah. Okay, so we have one Hellgate on the side of NoBallz. He presumably just built something like an Antler, or maybe a Disciple. Possibly the Disciple... Yeah,
I think the Antler is better.
I think the Antler for extra meat shield is good. He actually goes for a Halo, though. Yeah, I totally see what you mean. Like, his gates are just going to get run over. They're only going to get 2 or 3 spawns out before they die to this big 400 send from FTQ.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If they survive, they are catching back on the lead. So they caught up to their winning possibility. So I think this is one of the only chance they have to win. Yeah. But, God, they just don't have the build for it.
And these gates, they are getting overwhelmed, as you suggested, Shadow. So without those frontline units, NoBallz, even though he's on paper strong this wave, is going to end up leaking big, and his teammate NoStyle leaked 100% there. NoBallz 62, and that is a quick 2-0 actually from the side of Ofma and FTQ.
I mean, the first game was quite close, maybe a bit rattled for it. Try to go with their trump card. Played it a bit out of how they normally do. Like they sent quite a lot onto Ofma, especially having a Growl here. Like not realizing it's a Growl that's gonna transform to something else on wave 3. Still sending full instead of applying pressure.
It's a bit of a weird one. That's not how they normally play. They normally go for these like extreme long starts with Fiesta, and
I mean, if NoBallz, if NoBallz went for the pressure play here, realizing, okay, he's gonna change the Growl onto something on wave 3, he's gonna see what he builds and then send accordingly afterwards. That's gonna be more typical of how NoBallz normally plays.
Yeah.
And normally that's how you want to play against the Growl. Okay, like you try to pressure 1 and 2, you wait and see what he has, and he has to have a big unit, because if he doesn't have a big unit, the Growl is kind of lost, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if he had just skipped that wave 3, maybe gone for, say, wave 5, Ofma's looking pretty weak there, especially against something like, I don't know, Hermit and a Brute or something of that nature. Like, he could have got some real damage done, I think, on wave 5. And probably NoStyle could have as well, with a Hermit or Imps of his own there. So, yeah, a bit of an uncharacteristic income early game from NoBallz on the Fiesta, and maybe ends up backfiring against them, especially with these massive leaks from NoStyle and NoBallz on wave 8. And from there, they were just really fighting uphill. Like, they tried to make plays on 11, didn't really work. In fact, they just took a bit more damage themselves. And then we saw this big, hard push from Ofma and FTQ into a game-winning send there on wave 13. So very well played to those guys. They do